Cottman, Crawford, and the Jersey Guy podcast.
Hey everybody, Kenny Cottman.
Lewis Crawford.
And I'm Tom Ramage, the Jersey Guy.
Hello, my peoples. How's
What?
everybody doing?
What's up?
How you doing?
Going on?
Nothing.
So we have Lewis is away for the day. He'll be back later. And we got Aerik on with us. So it's going to be like Aerik Vaughn part 2.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
We're back.
Yes, man. Yes. Yes. So had Lou in here so that Lou can say what's up real quick to everybody.
Say what's up.
He's out there.
Just want to say, wish could be there, but you guys are gonna rock like always. No big deal.
Yeah.
Aerik, thank you so much for being a guest. I appreciate it.
Of course. I'm always happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah, and you guys have a good podcast, man. You know what I'm saying?
We always do. You know why? Because we're professionals.
I love you. I love you, man.
I love you too, man. We miss you, man. We were gonna have your picture here, but we
miss
couldn't
your
get one.
Musk.
Yeah, wait a minute.
That's from Anchorman. I miss your
I
Musk.
forgot
I
about
lived in New York City long enough that I can cover that.
That's great.
Awesome.
That's great. We were gonna have your picture here, but I couldn't get one fast enough. So
Nah, that's all good, man. I'm already in your head, bro.
Yeah.
You don't need to fix it.
yeah, obviously, yeah. No shit. That's great.
Anyway, you guys have a good time. Enjoy yourself, and I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, brother. Don't
All
forget.
right, Lou.
All right.
Hit the hang up
Live
button.
long and prosper.
Yes.
All right.
All day.
All right.
Later.
Peace.
Later.
So so we got our guest tonight, Mr. Aerik.
I have returned to the podcast.
Yes, man. So how you doing? How you been? How's everything?
Life has been a wild ride, man. It's like as soon as we completed the last one, a record company came to me and they're releasing all of my back catalog on vinyl worldwide. It's a whole to do. Lots of magazine articles and things just suddenly appeared. I mean, it was interesting timing because that was kind of like discussing the first half of everything that had happened since I decided to record again.
Right.
And now there's a whole new game afoot.
Dude, that is awesome. Well, congratulations, brother.
Yes.
That's good stuff. So how's it been going since then? Because it's what, like almost 6 months?
Yeah. And literally, no, it's funny because Lindsay opened a package, my lady, and she found a bunch of magazines in it. And I'm like, turn to like page 64, and there's a big picture of me and the most horribly edited text in the world because God bless them. They're in your Romania. I don't think anyone's actually going to read it. As long as they see a picture of me and a link to the record, I'm happy.
That's it. That is awesome, man. That is freaking great. Well, that's good stuff, man. So I'm glad everything's, up and just blowing up for you all together. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, no, I just find it funny that first podcast seemed to be kind of the it marked an end of one era, and then things just jumped into a totally different era.
Cool. So you were, we'll say, podcast, I guess, blessed over here.
So what's going to happen now?
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. Well, I'm either going to get hit by a bus or...
No, you're not going to get hit by a bus, bro. It's too much positivity.
No, hopefully we get the tour dates in Europe we want. That would be like the creme de la creme of things I want to do. Because this is the big festival summer circuit.
Right.
And every band does it. You play to huge crowds every night, regardless if you're famous or not, because they just set it up that way. And it's kind of a circuit that all the bands do there because it's become the easy way for all the fans can see the bands, but at the same time, for bands that may not guarantee a sellout tour, if you do these festivals, you're playing a big crowd every night.
Okay, so it's not like arenas.
Pack in. Yeah, and the European festival season for them is what they do.
Okay.
They just go to these 4-day festivals. They go back to work for a week. They do a 4-day festival. So if we can get to play one of these, we can get on one of these tours and just jump festival to festival, and you get to hang out with all your favorite bands, watch your favorite bands. It's like a nothing like this exists in America. You have the Warped Tour, you have some of these tours, but it's not like in Europe. These things are mammoth.
I mean,
and it's a giant party. That's the way.
Yeah.
I will say when you see some of the footage from these tours, I mean, there's like the crowd is like, I'm like, it looks like sometimes it goes for miles. You're like,
yeah, hell yeah.
like, I hate to be in the back.
Really appreciate music in America.
Yeah.
It's getting harder. It's fucking harder than ever in America, and it breaks my heart because we used to be where the music was.
Right.
Bands demanded to play here, and now it's almost like they do it for the marketing aspect of saying we're big enough to tour in America, but they're not making the money here.
Yeah, because they have to pay for them here, right? You have to pay for your own tours here in the States.
Well, and the thing is, like the days of the record label, unless you're Metallica, who are an industry.
Yeah,
right.
Really looking at it's getting harder to tour, and I saw a friend of mine's band was playing Europe, and he's like, "It's getting so expensive to tour. Please buy merchandise." These are not guys who are in a position where they normally have to say something like that, so it's a little bit of a. In this business, there's keeping up appearances. You don't want to look like you're hurting.
Right.
That's the whole illusion. You're doing this because you're doing well. And when bigger bands are making comments about buying merch, it's pretty telling that we're in a weird.
Oh, we lost him. Hang on. Hold on.
No, we lost
They
you.
did 5 days.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Say it again. We lost you for a sec. Say again.
They do 5 dates at a time. They'll play like New York, Boston, LA, Tijuana, Mexico, like in Mexico City, and they'll fly back.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't do the days of people living on the bus and doing 27 dates in a row. It's getting less and less because it's expensive.
Yeah. No, I got it. It's interesting though, like, is it just like the rock and metal scene that's because like you hear like on the news like they're talking about like what's her name Taylor Swift making making so much money on tour. I'm like, what is
Beyonce?
How come
is that really music or is it a circus? That's my
that's what. But why are they making so much money? That's what I want to know.
Because it appeals, and this is going to sound terrible.
Yeah.
It's the white woman audience, the housewife audience,
and
the teen white girl audience are the biggest audience.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
true.
They love Taylor Swift.
Right.
I mean, the obsession you see in the media for this woman,
it
transcends music because honestly, most people, like, they know all the songs. A friend of mine spent $6,000 on tickets.
What?
Wow.
And I think maybe that's the amount of tickets that have been bought for my shows in my together. And you listen to this, and the thing is, if you look at her show, most of the musicians aren't playing. It's a backing track.
Oh yeah, it's like a Milli Vanilli kind of thing.
Oh my
God,
remember that? Yeah. Girl,
they have dancers. They have synchronized swimmers. And
Well, see, I thought that the bands were live. I didn't know that the bands were. No shit, I didn't even know that.
Motley Crue got zapped recently
because really?
There's all this footage coming out of them mysteriously not playing their instruments.
No way, bro.
But
that's embarrassing.
The one guy they should do backing tracks for is Vince Neil because he can't sing.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. They give him a live mic.
Dude.
Why would you do that?
Oh my God.
No,
What's funny is like when bands do that and then they try to sing, like it's so bad. Like what the thing that happened, I mean, it wasn't even them with Milli Vanilli. Like when they tried, like something happened, they tried singing and they had didn't they have like a German accent? Like, girl, you know it's true.
Yeah.
Ooh. It was one of the worst albums of all. And I appreciate them trying to cash in and show that they could do it, but they couldn't.
No, they couldn't.
No.
They couldn't, bro. Not even a little bit, man.
Look. Those guys had $1 million look.
Yeah. That's exactly what.
That's what they sold.
But the funny though,
written music for them that was shitty, but like poppy.
Right, but the guys who the actual singers kind of looked like them.
Yeah.
I don't know that when I saw that, that's when I was like, what are you going for?
Yeah, seriously.
Why not just sign the other guy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they could have just said, we're not going to use those guys. We're gonna put the real.
Well, the other guys probably they had a deal because the other guys being talented, they probably didn't want to pay them what they were worth.
Oh,
so they could pay them for the track.
Right.
And that's a lot less money.
Right.
That's how this business works. And it was probably they saw these two good-looking models that like they will work for they had both people working for like a quarter price.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in the end, they spent nothing. They made a ton of money off it, and then these two poor guys got.
That's
The record company
hilarious.
didn't hurt from that. The record company was sitting there like, this scandal has made these songs the biggest hits ever. And
Hell
now we can
yeah.
fire these guys.
Hell yeah, man.
yeah,
Dude, that is
yeah.
the fucking truth, man. Like I said, think about it. Like you said, they just, if I pay you and you $25 a piece,
Yeah.
I'm going to make $3 billion off your ass. Like that makes
And
sense
then
to
we're
me.
going to dump you as if you never existed.
Yeah. And that's
And one
exactly
of
what
those
happened.
guys died. That was a sad thing. because
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
They
that.
were
Yeah.
like bad dudes. They took an opportunity that any two people
Right.
in their position
Yeah, of
would take.
course,
And I
of
think
course.
that's where the media, in the music media, is horrendous.
Yeah. But he didn't commit suicide, right? He was just
I
sickly.
think it was drugs or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
something
yeah,
to that
yeah.
effect. Yeah, it wasn't like,
It's just rough though, because like the media went down on them specifically for
Yeah,
doing
but they're
that.
just
It's
like
you
they were just paid guys. To
Right,
do,
yeah.
like, they're like just
imagine we're sitting
look good
around this
and
podcast,
pretend you're singing.
some
Yeah,
guy offers us $1 million to do this,
yeah.
but they don't want to use your pictures.
right.
That's
Well,
fine. You use someone else's
They
pictures.
take
Yeah.
3 other guys and
Yeah.
Listen, we could take a picture of 3 puppies. We could
Yeah.
do 3 different animals and make our asses rich as fuck. I don't
Yeah,
care. Give me
yeah,
$1 million
yeah,
listeners.
exactly,
I'm
exactly.
good with that.
I got a dog that's looking at me right now. Now, don't you?
Like, who
Yeah,
are you
I
talking
got a
to?
job for you. I'm gonna put you to work.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's great.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
This podcast is entirely done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. That is freaking great. So when are you looking to go on tour? Like, so when are you hoping for your
I'm
dates?
hoping by next summer. I mean, this summer we're not ready. People forget how much work it takes to get ready to play a live show.
Right.
Like your band needs to be good, and
Yeah, you got practice.
that's a lot harder. Like being in the studio for me is easy. I
Mhm.
create in a studio almost overnight. I just do it. Putting a band together to play these songs and have them sound. Because if I go out, this is like the last stand. At my age.
Right.
I might get a few tours out of this, but I'm not 25. I'm not looking at a 20-year career.
Right.
I don't want to go out there and play some bad shows. That would be the end of me.
Yeah, definitely.
No.
Like,
Definitely.
That would just. Well, somebody was like, "Why don't you play a club show?" And I'm like, "Yeah, after everything I built, all the magazines, everything. If I went out and played like a club show and it just didn't go right, and like 25 people showed up, the mystique is gone. The whole thing is right
Yeah.
back to the beginning."
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, like tour life, right? Like the older you get, the harder it's got to be. It's hard to. It's got to be hard to be a road dog when you're like
Yeah.
If
50.
you're older.
Like,
Yeah,
it's fun.
the
when
what?
when you're this old, you have to sleep in a bunk or you're sleeping in cheap hotels. I knew my touring days were over. Is when the band we went down to North Carolina for a short run of things, and we all wanted our own hotel rooms.
Yeah,
You didn't want to jump in bed fully clothed with another guy,
Definitely not.
sweating out of your clothes in some
Ooh,
rock
yeah.
hotel, because that's how. But then we weren't making money because everybody had to have their own hotel room. Sometimes your girlfriend wanted to be with you, and it's like, oh.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and that's like the thing too. I always wonder, like, how do you do laundry? Do you just not do laundry? You just wear the same clothes over
Oh,
and over?
you do laundry, but like not as often as you'd like. And the stink of touring is real. 'Cause even if you do laundry, you might you can't bring you can't bring a change of clothes for every night.
Right.
Yeah,
If you're doing we did budget tours. We didn't have a tour bus, and a tour bus isn't that much better. Like I have friends who go in tour buses, and they still have to stop at laundromats.
Right.
But like, if you're driving town to town to town, you can only bring a duffel bag of clothes, and
yeah.
like you're buying underwear in every Walmart you stop at, because you just
yeah.
Yo, that's great. Food
Just
in the
wear it
room.
out of the package. Just open the plastic up and throw them on.
you get the big package in your armchair and underwear.
Yeah, you can wear
Or
these,
yet
turn them
another-
inside out.
There's the other.
Yeah, exactly.
You get to know your bandmates better than you know your own wife.
That's what I'm
It's
saying,
like
dude.
being married, and I have a good friend, Paul, and he wanted to join the band,
Yeah.
And he was getting excited because he heard my stuff. We got to know each other through that Discord on it, ironically, and he was like, "Oh, we could have gone," and I was sitting there like, "You want to know the number one way to not be friends with someone anymore? Go on tour."
Yeah. Come on tour with me, bro. We're never gonna be
Yeah,
friends.
by the
again.
end, you're just like, I had enough of you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's after a week. But then you got
Dude.
3 more weeks, and you're like, Did I ever tell you I hate you?
Yo.
You don't hate the person, but like
You're just sick of seeing them. You're like,
we're all married, right? Are you married, Kenny?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, we're all married. I don't even want to see my wife that much.
Yeah.
I mean, and I love her. I love her to death.
But you want your space. Yeah, I get it.
Like,
yeah.
We all want to go in our separate rooms. On tour, you don't get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
That's
by the time you get to the city you're in, you got to start like rehearsing, right?
Yeah, or you just got to get to the venue. You get out, you go eat, you go to it, and you're eating like shit.
Yeah.
Because once again, the venue gives you money. You're eating venue food, which is
like bar food, basically. Everything's fried.
Being a vegan on tour, Tom, I'll tell you. Like most people become vegetarians. There's actually a pro wrestler, Daniel Bryan.
Yeah,
he's really cool. He's a vegan, but he even said he slipped when he was on like doing the massive touring.
Yeah.
Because the food options were so bad. Like the vegan food was like, here's some rice and a bean.
Man.
And he didn't have time to go out to the good restaurant, because he had to be there. You have to do check A, check 2. So you sacrifice your health, your sleep.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nothing like forced sleep. And God forbid you're having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you're drinking, you have to do other, that was the biggest problem for us, is that, the chemicals become... You have to believe you're the best thing in the world when you get on stage. But if you're tired and you've been driving through Omaha,
you
want to do a line, man, because you got to get out there. You're going to be like, yeah. But really, you're feeling like, yeah.
Well, you know what's...
that's the trap a lot of bands get. And I think people think that it's all decadence. And I'm like, most it's survival.
It's funny though.
Out. This shit, and it also becomes Groundhog Day. Every day is the same.
Yeah, I guess it is just the scenery changes.
Oh my God,
you
all smell.
Oh.
You all smell. Oh, we're in the motel. Oh, we're in the shitty diner drinking coffee. We're at the show.
You know what I do notice though? I notice if you look at tour dates, if you notice, like sometimes you'll see like they'll go to one city and there'll be like 5 days for the next city. It's because they want to like sightsee and do shit. Like it's funny if you watch a lot of bands when they like their New York date and then it's like 4 or 5 days for the next spot.
Usually, and that's partially to prevent burnout.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's give you guys a break too. Go sightsee, do stuff. Yeah. Yeah,
there's a lot of that preventing burnout. And I know Tellock when he tours with Mayhem, he goes to the bar Duff's, he hangs out, because he gets to do that once every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
But also with these bigger bands, when you're doing that much, but the thing is that costs you a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah.
Taking a day off on tour, there's either 2 ways you are on tour. You're making money or you're losing money.
Right. Yeah.
For younger bands or bands that were in our position, taking a day off was a disaster.
Yeah, that's true. Because you get a lot of trouble on your day off too.
Yeah.
We did like area tours, like 3 or 4 dates in this area, 3 or 4 dates, because there was just not enough money in it to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna scrape it out for 42 dates in a row. Like I couldn't imagine. I couldn't get along with anyone.
Yeah, but dude, that's freaking insane, man. God,
you're not like sports guys. You're artists. You're moody. You have, it's like artists are more introverted, except when they're on stage. But then when you're in that constant, exposure to the elements and other people, it's an interesting dynamic. Like I don't regret any of the experiences playing I've had, but like I really don't want to do anything now at this point that isn't big.
Right.
Yeah. Bucket list shit. That's where I'm at. My life now is bucket list shit. And that's been so happy because I haven't taken the temptation to be like, oh, play my backyard birthday party. And then you play a miserable set, you get paid $25 and you spent $300 getting the band together, rehearsing on, paying for rooms. And
Yeah.
You have to have, well, that's another thing. Like rock and roll when I was a kid was very frowned upon. Tom, you know this.
Yes.
We were not like the cool kids. It was a real And your parents were not like, if you wanted to be a musician, your parents, it isn't like now when
Yeah.
they put you in the school of rock
Yeah.
Right.
and, you know, they buy you the expensive gear and it's out of your system by your 25.
Right. Yes.
For us, it was a choice. You were doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
And it was kind of like joining a gang because, you know, there was a no way out clause.
That's freaking wrong.
It was very much like, oh shit, well, now that we're doing this, you know, I better put everything into it. And I didn't get half as successful as I wanted, but I like, other than a lot of the interpersonal stuff in the music industry, I have no regrets about any of the music choices.
Right.
I think everybody in the industry has regrets about how they dealt with people.
Mhm.
It's a lot of egos. It's a lot of, you have to delude yourself to sell yourself that hard.
Right.
And if you're in it too much, it starts to rub off on your private life.
oh yeah, I can imagine.
And every musician, and even if you're at a not big scale, you start to not be the nicest guy.
Right. Well, then now,
And
how do you
because
pick?
You want to be entertaining, you
Right.
know, and that entertaining part is usually bigger than life. It's arrogant. It's loud. It's
So how are
and
you
it's
going to
fun.
pick your guys? Like, how are you going to pick your bandmates?
I already have them.
Oh, okay, cool. So you-
I have. They're the nicest people in the world. They're clean. They're sober. They're beautiful killers.
That's
I
good.
met
That's
them
important. That's
working
really
in different
important.
Yeah.
Places.
Yeah, you don't want someone who's
I
partying
could
too
not be
hard,
in
you
a
know?
party band at this age. It would kill me.
No, yeah.
well,
My
then,
friend Paul took me out. We went out, and you know, he was seeing Emperor, and we went out drinking. And when I got home, Lindsay was looking at me like, and I was like, I'm dying.
That's too
Call an
funny. That's too
ambulance.
funny. Yeah.
That's hilarious, man.
Can't party
Call
like
an ambulance.
when
I
you're
can't
younger.
do this anymore.
No, you know, I don't drink anymore, but like toward, you know, like the last few times, like I got like drunk or whatever, like I was like fucking really feeling it the next day.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like you get like the, what's it called? The Irish flu, you know, when you get the next day you're
Oh,
vomiting
yeah.
and shit. Oh, I can't, man. I can't do it. I can't do it. So
That is
I just
funny.
can't
Cannabis
get
for
out of
me,
bed.
that's it.
The next day I'm broken, and
yeah.
I used to be able to kick up and work and do everything. Now it's like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, clear the schedule. No, and also, when we do this, I want to enjoy every minute of it for once.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't
take
want
it
to
in,
be like, I was asleep for most of my career because we drank like fish. We were toxic.
Hmm.
Being a New York City band too, like the party life was very tempting at all times. Like there's a lot of women, but a lot of good times.
Yeah, definitely.
You weren't really having a good time, but it was, you know, the pleasures of the flesh are hard to resist when they're everywhere.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. How do you say no? Definitely. All right. You twisted my arm
Oh,
and my
this
nipples.
hot-
Oh.
we're apartment and we're gonna do drugs all night and have sex. This is such a horrible thing.
I know. Yeah. No. Jesus. No. Lord forbid.
But now that I'm married and like have the whole family thing going, it's like all of that seems like a totally different thing.
Mhm.
And for once, like this comeback has been done for the right reason, and that's to preserve like 20 years of music. But now I love it for the music. I mean, the thing I enjoy now is getting the magazines that we never got then.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that like I'm in this Danish magazine's doing their second big pictorial on me in a year.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that is
This is the
fucking
coolest.
awesome.
This is the coolest stuff that can ever happen to you because it's like me going back to being 15, being in
Right.
New Hampshire and picking up the metal magazines I used to buy,
Yup.
Yes.
and that's how we learned about stuff back then. We didn't have the internet.
Yeah. Right.
There
Right.
was a magazine called Metal Maniacs. You used to go
Yes.
every month to the grocery store.
I
You
remember.
buy that Metal Edge,
Yup.
and you would just go through all the back pages, find out all the bands, you know. But that was like magic. But
It's
now
funny.
I'm getting these magazines. It's just now that I'm in them.
That.
I remember being a kid
That's
getting
really
those
cool.
magazines too. I remember used to go into there was like a town drugstore called Gallows, and I used to go there. Yeah, they're not Italian. I used to go to Gallows, and I used to get that magazine and Fangora.
Fangoria, yes. number one.
That is hilarious.
Get the horror and the metal in one. The two things parents hate.
That is funny,
Yeah,
man.
I mean that having the magazines aren't the same ones I grew up with, but knowing that some kid in some foreign country
Yeah.
where metal is huge is going and seeing my face and getting familiar with my work, and I'm that guy in the magazine. Where when in our prime we didn't have any of this happen because we were playing all the time. We couldn't get it. We couldn't just get it together. Now it's so together. It's a machine. It's happening.
That's amazing.
Hell yeah. That's the cool part.
Reward.
Hell
The
yeah.
reward is finally getting the things that you thought you wanted, but you never got together. Like most people don't get to live twice. I feel like I've gotten to live this.
That's
twice.
cool
like
as
you did
shit.
it wrong the first time, and now you're doing it right. And you don't want to drink through that. You want to drink every minute of it because I'm 43, going to be 44.
Yeah.
This isn't a forever game, and I don't want to be one of these guys who's like taking up space.
Well, no, definitely. Yeah, exactly, bro. And I mean, so now all your bandmates though too, they're married or is it just you?
Well, the thing is, I do everything in the studio. So Lou is never going to be married, the drummer. He's a lifer in I think the lonely world of rock and roll, and he's happy. Yeah. Artie is pretty much Artie is married, the guitar player. And the bass player is still a mystery. We'll put a bass on Tom.
We don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
He just shows up. He's like the what's the show The Boys? Have you watched The Boys on Amazon Prime?
Yeah,
I wanted to. I haven't done it yet.
Well, they got the ninja guy. He just doesn't talk.
He doesn't say nothing.
He just shows up. He's just there. So that's your bass player. He's just like
he's like Snake Eyes in G.I. Joe. Yeah.
I'll probably, if we do Europe, I'll put Paul on bass just so he can have the experience.
Oh yeah,
that is
I'll
great.
Just have him be the band. I'll have him be the guy in the band who parties.
That is freaking awesome.
There has to be one, so somebody's having fun, and then you can kind of walk away and be like, "It's on you now, pal."
Yeah, no shit.
I'm gonna go to the hotel and hang out with other musicians and look at our magazines and be like, "Yeah, that's cool."
That is great.
It's almost like the most teenage revival of my life.
Yes,
and
that's great.
What's amazing about it.
Yeah,
it's like you see these magazines, you open them and you see your face in a magazine.
Right. So
you're like,
well, now, so other than the magazines, are you doing any other? What are interviews are you doing? On TV or anything?
There's a lot of radio.
Okay.
I've been doing a lot of radio spots, internet radio, a lot of magazines, radio. I might be doing some Danish TV. That's all in the works. I have a new publicity team, and they set everything up. So I have to kind of roll in with them and sit with them and see what they want me to do. Because they handle this for me now, which is also really nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Because back in the day, I used to do everything. I'd make all the phone calls, book all the things, and I was terrible at it. I thought I was so good at it, but like I'm looking at this guy, it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna be in this magazine next week, and hey, answer these 6 questions. This is going on radio.
That's
you're like,
awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So then now, how often are you doing these interviews?
Some weeks there's like 10 in a week, and then some weeks that nobody.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like comes in spurts.
Yeah.
So here's a question.
Yeah, and that's good.
So here's a question I have. So
yes,
metal is more popular in Europe. So they're usually like Northwest European countries like Norway, Sweden, Denmark.
Yeah. For sure.
So like what is it about like that area that draws people more to metal than other areas?
I think it's history, because metal is a very bombastic, almost classically tinged music. And even if you listen to the Misfits and punk, it's very big. It's very Sturm und Drang and heavy. And I think the history of that area, you have a lot of the history with the world wars. You have even going back to medieval times, it kind of like, I think that intensity
like the Vikings,
music,
yeah,
the Vikings,
the Norse,
kind of carries for centuries of vibe.
Right.
In America, we're still fighting over our history a lot.
Yeah.
Europeans have so much good and bad history that I think they reconciled a bit more artistically.
Okay.
We're still at a very uncomfortable place in our history where, like in Europe, like even 100 years ago, they had a lot of bad things going on. But because they've had thousands of years of good, bad, good, I think they're very much more comfortable at artistically singing about things.
Oh, yeah,
where
that makes sense.
In America, we're still going through the growing pains of being a new nation, being like, oh, we did this wrong, we did this right.
Yeah,
and a lot of the love of art is still very shallow because it's more avoidant.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
If you look at what's big in America, it's very sugary music. It's very based on,
like we were just talking about, what's her name, Taylor Swift.
Yeah, right. It's that pop stuff.
Yeah, but that pop stuff is huge because for a country that doesn't have like thousands of years of identity that it can be proud of and hate, we're still in that thing where we're like, yeah, we're proud to be America, but that thing, and people like, I think they don't feel comfortable yet singing about it in a way that isn't like very like college professor.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's always like, because if you look at political music, it's always been like punk it's a great subculture, but it's always in America been smaller.
Yeah.
The 60s and 70s, that kind of music was big. And I think that's because it was like a cultural growth spurt.
Right, definitely.
The 2000s. And especially since, I read a great book recently. We'll get into that later. But it was about kind of how in the post-Cold War, America didn't have a big bad. So our freedoms of expression, our art, and all of that kind of didn't mean as much. Because now these bands are, like, people forget Moscow is now hosting Pantera shows.
Right. That's bananas.
So we were no longer special in that regard.
Right.
And we entered the 2000s. If you remember, we're Gen Xers. We remember the 90s. Music was as edgy and cool as it ever was then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so true.
You had Alice in Chains. You had Soundgarden. You had Pearl Jam.
Yep.
Jeremy, about shooting up a classroom. And it was #1 on the radio.
I know, that is true. Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that shit till right now.
I don't think that shit would fly today.
Yeah, no.
No, none of that would fly today. It was dark-ass music. We were listening to some really gritty shit. That was like the height of what, like, grunge in America was the height of what, like, would have been big in Europe.
Right.
At the time, because it was truly artsy music. But then if you look at what happened after that, you hit the 2000s. And, like, synchronized dancing for every pop song became the standard. And I think the 90s was so uncomfortably real that the crowd after the Gen Xers, because of the internet, because of this weird feeling of being connected to the world and being afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because, the world is always looking at you now. We'll talk about that next. But it's almost like music has become as empty as possible because nobody wants to say anything.
Yeah, everybody's scared to say stuff. But now, see, so like for me, I remember like, 80s and 90s, there was, I guess depending on the genre, is where you had, I guess the synchronized dancing, like you're saying, because R&B had a handful, you still had like the New Kids on the Block and, all those kind of guys starting out.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. In the late 90s, that's when all the pop stuff, like, I mean, there was always pop music, but like that's when like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC,
and then like before them, it was.
That's when it hit the ultimate. That people forget. If you look at the rise of the music industry, the 60s saw the first major rock bands. It was very rebellious.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
The 70s is my favorite era musically. Because, you had all the bands like Black Sabbath, Zeppelin.
True.
You had that weird, malleable, crazy in-between Pink Floyd, all of that.
Right.
Then you hit the 80s where punk rock, the most real thing in the world, was happening.
Right.
But you also had synth pop. But these forms of music were all very tied to very distinct and secretive subcultures and would peak out to the mainstream.
Right. That's true.
And then with the internet, the mainstream ate everything.
Right.
Because what used to be like an initiation, like we used to quiz guys back in the day.
Yeah.
Some guy come to a show and you'd be like, oh, what's your favorite album by the Misfits? Legacy of Brutality or Screaming in Black? And the guy, because that was the cooler title, it was like, yeah, Screaming in Black. We're like, there is no Screaming in Black.
I was just going to say, is there an album I don't know about? You were just telling me. I was like, Screaming Black. I never heard that.
You can Google an entire history.
Yeah, that's true.
That is the funniest shit.
There's no secrets anymore. Subcultures and music don't have that ability to grow and mature kind of in a smaller environment before they get bigger, because if it has anything good, everybody's on it the minute and it kind of dies almost as quickly as it's born.
Well, didn't Metallica get they were called the sellouts and stuff for a long time because they came out?
Well, they kind of did, but like, what are you going to do at that point?
Yeah,
you
right.
have an opportunity to make untold money, make your family set for life.
Yeah,
I don't like everybody who hates them never got that offer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought it was fucking fantastic. Yeah, and especially
sell out tomorrow.
Right. Hell yeah. Fuck yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't see it as selling out though. For me, it's more like for you. All right. So we'll say, here's Aerik. He's been, underground and he's been doing this stuff. But now that people are going to hear his stuff, now they're going to understand what I like and why I like Aerik's stuff. Yeah. I never saw that sellout.
What would you rather do for money? Work a really hard job or make music? And the problem is everybody says they'd rather work the hard job because nobody ever offered them the big music.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
And even the bands that are smaller than Metallica that talk smack about them, they never made it to those heights.
Right.
Metallica is an industry.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think they think about writing songs that much anymore. They are a cottage industry that's a multi-billion-dollar whatever million.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't fault them for it. If that much money is offered, you're gonna take it.
Right. The same thing with kids, though.
Even old one day, you're gonna have kids. You're gonna have all these things.
Yeah.
And what do you want to leave them? What's more important? What strangers who you don't know think who bought your first album or your kids?
Right. Yeah. Because like you said,
and
Kiss.
That's a delusional thing to think that they're going to make a record for me.
Yeah. No, I was saying like Kiss. Even Kiss turned around and now they're a legacy. You know what I'm saying? Like they're.
Yeah. And you know what? They've you know what? I gotta say though. They've done some stuff that didn't work so well, and they did it because they wanted to do it. What's the? Yeah, I was just gonna say Lou Reed.
Yeah.
Oh, that was I couldn't listen to it.
I love it. It's so bad. I kind of love it.
Yeah, but they did that because they wanted to do it.
Right?
Know?
Yeah,
they did this album with Lou Reed, and it just because
there was no record label out there being like, yes, you guys and Lou Reed make a spoken word poetry album.
Yeah, because he's doing spoken word. And
yeah. Like what?
It really fueled the argument about Megadeth being the better band.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
I love Dave. But Megadeth is a fringe thing, even though they're successful. He needs to get over the thing with Metallica. They need to get over with him. In the end, it's a job. It's a job you love, and being an artist is being cool, but I have an agreement with my wife. Like, nothing I do will affect the kid, like financially. Right. I'm not gonna like, go on tour for no money or pay to add myself onto a bill with a bigger band and not, make sure that Avery has what he needs. That would be
that's ass backwards.
That's where people get messed up in this, is that they forget that being a person's more important than being a musician. Being an artist, you can be now.
Right.
You can record at home. Yeah. You have the artistic freedom you didn't used to have.
Mm-hmm.
There's no excuses to not be good to your family.
Right. And that, like you said, that's the idea. The idea is for you to set that up for you, your family, that, to be that famous that you wanted to be, because you know what? That's why I'm doing this shit. That's why I'm for me, so even us like doing the podcast,
of course,
I'm doing this shit because I don't mind being famous and making some money somewhere. I'm really okay with it. You know what I mean? And like you said, to have like you, Aerik, on here, that we have, different people listening to our stuff, just spreading the voice.
Yeah.
It's, to me, that's what it's all about. Telling people what it is, because, you have your views on how you see things. We have views on how we see things. Having you on here and talking about how you see music, it's kind of, it's enlightening, because I didn't think about any of the shit that you're saying or how you're seeing it. Like, I'm like, fuck that. Make me a song. Make me dance, motherfucker. What the fuck?
Is that nobody thinks about what you do when you're not playing.
Right. Exactly.
Or when you're doing an interview. I mean, even the last interview was a bit on guard. It was the first podcast I'd done in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was a little more guarded, a little more, almost in performance mode.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a little less casual because, I just wasn't comfortable.
Right.
It wasn't like I was faking it. There was a sense of you're on stage now. You're speaking to the audience, and you need to be very aware of everything you do. And that's what people don't realize as artists. You are being chipped apart.
Right. Definitely.
You make one mistake on social media, you having a bad day, and you tell the wrong person, go screw yourself.
Right. Yeah. But that's how it is.
That person has a voice. All of a sudden, you got 6 months of drop.
But that's what happens when you're in the public eye, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it is. You say that one thing that's...
After 25 years and I've had death threats, I've had...
I can't believe that shit. That fucking kills me.
Love me. I've had people hate me. I've had people hate me for legitimate reasons. And I've had people hate me for the most hilarious shit in the world.
Yeah.
And the more public you are, the more you will get various characters in your life that either want to be part of it and then they're part of it for a while, and then they realize they don't like you or they're disappointed by you, and then they turn on you entirely.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they don't ever think about like, and you stop being a person after a while if you're not careful.
Right.
The next album actually I'm working on is called Song and Dance Man, and it's all about the mistakes I made doing
cool.
that,
Yeah.
being a performer, and kind of it's a cautionary tale of like, don't let this go to your head. Don't feel comfortable with people, and don't buy into your own hype.
Right. Exactly.
Because then you'll leave more of a bad taste in people's mouths about you that may not be actually you. It's just you never turn the performer off.
There you go.
It's true.
And because sometimes it's more comfortable to be, you're more confident that way.
Yeah. Right. Because you're that person.
Well, that's like, what's his name said I was talking about on the show, Kevin Smith, that thing, that video I was talking about. He said that like he created a character for himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He called it the other guy. It wasn't the real Kevin Smith. It was just him being but like he never turned it off for like 10 years. He was like,
yeah. And I was getting to a point. And the thing is, Aerik Vaughn was a very entertaining guy.
Yeah.
He was not a nice person.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Like, if I wasn't, talking shit about somebody like a pro wrestler, but it got to a point that it was like, nothing I did felt sincere anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I was so desperate for the band to make it that I didn't realize that the key was to sober up and focus on the actual music.
Okay. Now, do you think
building more hype and being more, and eventually it just burned down around me. My best friend died. I became a wreck. I couldn't deal with anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and
now
that's what the album's about. It's a cautionary tale about getting off stage, like as I say for the last time, as that person.
Right. So now you feel like you found yourself?
I'm not that at all.
Yeah. So now you found yourself. Now you know who you are, and now you're doing the music the way you want to do it.
Yeah, now it's about the music. I'm secondary. I'm no longer this, 6'2", really slim, long-haired, good-looking guy. That's over. And to a degree, it's liberating because now that's not what I'm selling.
Right.
I'm selling songs. If you don't like the songs, well, I got nothing for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's no longer the me show.
Right.
And I even today on social media, new platform, I start throwing the little bombs out to piss people off. And I'm like, it felt uncomfortable because that's how we used to do things to get people to pay attention.
Right.
And it's habitual. You're like, we're going to rile up the masses. We're going to be punk rock and piss everyone off.
Yeah.
And then it's like you want to turn it off, but then everybody remembers. They're like, well, we're still mad at you.
Yeah. Well,
like,
well, you know what, though? I mean, I think that's just, it's what you've already, like you said, put out there, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, now, you can.
Well, now I focus on putting out the records. I want them first. It's like in the magazines, they ask for pictures of me, and I'm less comfortable than ever doing that.
Yeah.
I'm like, put a picture of the record in. I don't want to be. I want the music to finally be the star as it was supposed to be.
Yeah. Matter of fact,
there's a reason Metallica have lasted so long, and that those classic songs are classic.
Yeah.
Billy Idol, that guy's 70 years old, and White Wedding, he still comes out and kills it because that song is amazing.
That is.
I forgot he was that old, man. Fucking A. Because I saw him somewhere. He was on something I was watching not too long ago. I'm like, that's Billy. Oh my God.
Yeah, and he still looks pretty good, actually.
Yeah, he looked the fucking same.
I remember when he was on Viva La Bam and he cut Viva La Bam. He's like, this Lamborghini needs a sunroof, and he took the sawzall and
cut that shit. Remember that fucking thing, man? Yeah, no, he does. He looks good. I mean, like I said, I appreciate all that music. I love rock and whatnot. I love that metal. I do.
I hate to be a snob about it, but the 20th century has proven to be far better than the 21st.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's because it was the voice of a time when you couldn't vent your frustrations on. And it's funny that we're going to go into social media after this because
that's the next episode.
Social media has removed a huge portion of what music used to provide for people.
Right.
Because if you were alone in your room as a young teenage Tom, you know this more than anyone.
Yeah.
And you're pissed off. You put on a song that's pissed off.
Right.
Oh,
it's almost like that artist is speaking for you.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Exactly.
No, it's very relatable.
Yeah, all day. But that's what your gift is, bro. So if nobody else ever told you, I'll tell you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your music, your songwriting, because you guys are what just, I guess, almost grounded us. And I guess is the easiest way to put it, because now we had an outlet. So it was to listen to the music, then listen to what you're saying, and we're like, he gets it. Now, and then you could just sit there and jump around the room and, air guitar and shit. And, you're like, yes. And, you were able to release.
Bigger than yourself.
Exactly. So you were able, that's how you released.
Unifying sound. Especially if you found another kid. Tom and I did it. Like, Lindsay introduced us and we started going off about shit. It's because only certain people who know certain music can understand certain things. It's you can't really put it into words, but the music speaks between people.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man, I hear music differently than you guys hear music. I'm not even going to make believe like I don't hear all that super politics like you guys will catch out of it. I'll just hear what's happening to me in that moment. And I'll hear the song again in 10 years and I'll have that same feeling.
Yeah, that's true.
I actually have that still with some things.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone loses like those key bands.
Right.
Like there's certain records I hear them and it's 20 years ago.
Yeah, man.
Everything in the world. Like if I was dying,
it's like taking a time warp.
Cancer or something, I could listen to this record and feel like, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do take a little time warp, do you? It's weird. Like
it's fucking crazy, man.
No,
yeah.
But it's almost like muscle memory, I think.
Yeah. It's like when you go to
that way when I hear songs I've written.
Right. Yes. See, that's like
they were written at specific times in my life, and then you hear that riff, and there's some album like everybody's like, "Is there going to be a new punk record?" And I'm like, "I'm 43. I don't have that in me."
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to be writing the raging 3-chord,
Right.
It's more melodic stuff now, or heavier, more complex, because I'm just older and more.
Right. and now you know how to write better.
That's a huge thing. Like when I started putting these records together, I realized that being in a live band and having to teach them everything and kind of having so many limitations of having to play it live in the studio,
right?
I was missing out on a whole musical world. When I learned that I could put it together in parts and do it all on my own, I started writing 10-minute songs.
Yeah. See?
I remember releasing them and a few people being like, "I don't believe this is you." No, bro. This is like, I was away for 10 years and this is what you're getting. This is the progress and it's all coming out at once and you just have to like drink it like a giant cup of water.
Right, exactly. Well,
move on.
Yeah, no shit. Well, I appreciate you, brother.
I don't care. I love all this stuff that's happening.
Yeah, listen.
End, when I get sit back in my room and I can hear that full album on my own,
right?
If I like it, that's all that matters.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like I said, brother, I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the how you do, and I said all your music and whatnot. I appreciate it, and I thank you for that. And with that, though, the end of the show for today.
Yeah, check you guys later.
Yes, sir. So I appreciate you again, Aerik. Thank you, brother. Said we're gonna catch you in the next one, and we'll be on the next podcast with us, and
we'll be on the next podcast. We'll be talking about social media. So it's gonna be a good one.
Yep.
It'll be less about me ranting, so you guys.
That wasn't even a rant, bro. That was educational.
Education. So
I think it was a lot more positive than the last one because it's
Yeah, you're more relaxed.
The first was the rough half of the story. The second is the more uplifting.
Yeah, this is it.
You two can do this, kids.
Yes.
All right. I'm closing out for this one.
Yep. So I will talk to you in a little while, brother, man.
Since Lewis isn't here to say live long and prosper, you got a quick phrase you can say after Kenny says love, peace, and hair grease?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I'm going
to do it.
So you after love, peace, and hair grease.
All right. All right. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Like, follow, and all that other good stuff. Reach out, listen to Aerik's music. His stuff will be we'll put it on our pages and whatnot on our social media. So love, peace, and hair grease. Your turn, Aerik.
Live long and prosper.
All right.
And go vegan.
Holla.
Oh.